What you're about to hear is one of the most shocking live TV explosions in daytime history. It happened in seconds, but stunned millions. Tom Cruise walked onto The View, expecting a normal interview, and walked out after a fiery clash that left Joy Behar speechless. The audience frozen, and the entire studio in chaos. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't planned. This was the moment Tom Cruise erupted live, unfiltered, and impossible to forget. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. Chaos. Pure, unbelievable chaos. That's the only way to describe the moment. Hollywood megastar Tom Cruise suddenly erupted live on The View. A moment so shocking, so unexpected, that it left the audience stunned. The co-hosts frozen, and Joy Behar sitting in her chair with an expression that screamed one thing: did that really just happen? From the very second Tom walked onto the stage, everything seemed normal. The crowd cheered, the lights glowed bright, and the co-hosts smiled with that familiar daytime TV warmth. It was supposed to be the kind of interview Tom had done 1,000 times. Smooth, charming, safe, a few jokes, a movie clip, a nice story about filming, and done. But this time, something was different. Underneath Tom's polite smile, there was a tension, a stiffness in the shoulders, a seriousness in the eyes. The viewers at home probably didn't notice it at first, but the people in the studio felt it instantly. It was as if the air itself had changed, thickening with every passing second. The segment began harmlessly enough. Joy Behar fired off her usual friendly banter, the kind that gets the audience warmed up. The other co-hosts chimed in with laughs, teasing Tom about his daredevil stunts and his legendary energy. Nothing unusual, but as Joy shifted in her seat, glanced briefly at her cue card, and leaned forward to ask her next question, a strange quiet fell over the room. The kind of quiet that makes the back of your neck feel cold. No one noticed it yet, but a fuse had been lit. The lights above the stage buzzed softly. Cameras rolled. Producers in the control room watched closely, headsets pressed firmly to their ears. Even Whoopi Goldberg, who had been sipping her tea moments earlier, set her cup down slowly, as if sensing the shift. Tom's smile remained, but it wasn't real. Not anymore. It was a performer's smile, thin, tight, and stretched over something simmering underneath. The tension was subtle at first, then not subtle at all. You could almost see it, rippling across Tom's face. His eyes sharpened, his posture straightened, his fingers tapped slowly against the arm of his chair, a steady, impatient rhythm that was nearly drowned out by Joy's voice, but not quite. The audience felt it. The hosts felt it. Everyone felt it. The temperature in the room seemed to rise, slowly, quietly, then all at once. Millions of people were watching. Every second on live TV mattered. Every breath, every expression, every slip-up, all of it broadcasted without a second chance. And right in the middle of this high-pressure environment, Tom Cruise leaned forward. He didn't lean casually. He didn't lean politely. He leaned forward with purpose, like a man who had been waiting for this moment. Like a man who was done pretending nothing was wrong. His voice tightened. His expression darkened. The smile he had been holding onto suddenly faded, slipping off his face like it had never been there at all. Joy Behar noticed instantly. She straightened herself, as if bracing for something, though even she didn't know what was coming. She had interviewed presidents, actors, comedians, politicians, but she had never seen this Tom Cruise. This was not the polished, cool, unshakable Tom Cruise the world adored on screen. This was something else. Something raw. Something unfiltered. Something real. And it was happening live, with no commercial break, no script, no safety net. The energy in the studio flipped in an instant. Every heart beat faster. Every camera zoomed in. Every audience member leaned forward, barely breathing because what was about to unfold wasn't just an interview gone wrong. It was a full-blown eruption, the kind that daytime TV had never seen before, and it was already too late to stop it. It all began with a single question. A question Joy Behar had asked casually, almost playfully, but one that would ignite the most explosive moment The View had seen in years. And the crazy part? Joy didn't even realize she was lighting the match. The conversation up to that point had been smooth enough. Tom talked about his new movie, the insane stunts he performed, and the physical training he endured. The audience loved it. They laughed, clapped, leaned in. But Joy wasn't satisfied. Her eyes scanned her cue card again. Her expression sharpened with that familiar mix of curiosity and provocation she was famous for. She wasn't looking for a safe answer. She was looking for a moment, and she got one. Joy leaned forward, lifted her glasses slightly, and with a half smirk asked, "Tom, people say you take your stunts and yourself way too seriously. Do you ever think you go overboard?" The audience chuckled, but Tom didn't. Not even a twitch dot. Instead, he blinked once, slowly, almost as if he were processing the question, not as a joke, but as an insult. The room noticed the shift instantly. The laughter died down awkwardly. Even the air seemed to pause. Tom's smile froze, locked in place like it was glued on. He answered calmly, "At first, I take my work seriously, yes. But that doesn't mean." Before he could finish, Joy cut in again, her voice sharper this time. "Well, some say it's a control thing. You know, the way you run your sets, your shoots, even your interviews." A wave of uneasy murmurs washed across the audience. The co-hosts didn't move, not even a blink. Whoopi stared ahead, her lips pressed tightly together. Sunny's eyebrows shot up. Sarah's smile faded as she looked from Joy to Tom like she was watching a train about to derail. But Joy didn't back down. This was her style, asked boldly. "Poke the fire, see what rises." But this time, the fire rose a little too fast. Tom straightened his back. His eyes locked onto Joy with an intensity so sharp, the viewers at home probably felt it through the screen. His voice dropped, not loud, but firm, controlled and simmering. "Joy, with all due respect, if you think passion is the same as control, then you don't understand what I do at all." The studio froze. Joy blinked, taken aback for the first time since Tom walked in. But instead of diffusing the moment, she escalated it. She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and said, "Relax. Tom, it's just a question." A dangerous silence followed. Not the awkward kind, not the funny kind, but the kind that signals something big is coming, something no one can stop. Tom exhaled sharply, a rare crack in his calm persona. His tone shifted deeper, sharper. "I am relaxed. But I won't let you belittle what hundreds of people risk their lives for." A gasp ran through the audience. Joy raised her eyebrows. Intrigued, the producers behind the scenes started pacing, whispering frantically into headsets, watching the tension climb higher and higher. But Tom wasn't finished. He leaned in, hands clasped, voice steady but burning underneath. People dedicate their lives to these films. They train for months, they sacrifice, they work harder than most people even realize, and you reduce that effort to a joke, a punchline. The audience's reaction was instantaneous, a mix of surprise and disbelief. Joy opened her mouth to speak, but the words didn't come out. For once, Joy Behar, the queen of comebacks, was speechless. And the tension in the room, it didn't just rise, it exploded, silently, violently, and visibly. Everyone watching knew something huge had just shifted, something irreversible, something that would define that entire episode and maybe even become one of the most shocking live TV moments of the year. The question had been asked, the fuse had been lit, and Tom Cruise was no longer playing nice. The eruption was coming, and no one, not Joy, not the co-hosts, not the producers, could stop it now. The studio had gone silent. Not the normal kind of silence, the polite pause before someone talks. No, this was the heavy, suffocating kind that fills your ears and squeezes your chest. The kind that lets you know something big is about to happen. Tom Cruise sat forward, elbows on his knees, eyes locked directly onto Joy Behar. The camera cut to a close-up of his face, and the tension was visible in every muscle. Joy attempted a small, awkward smile, trying to soften the moment. But Tom wasn't softening. Not today. Not after the last question. Then it happened. Tom's voice, sharp and louder than before, cut through the silence like a blade. Joy, I'm not blowing up. I'm explaining. And there's a difference. The audience immediately reacted, a mix of gasps, whispers, shifting seats. Nobody expected this Tom Cruise. Nobody expected him to snap. His tone wasn't wild or out of control. It was worse. It was steady, measured, intense. The kind of intensity that makes people lean back in their chairs. Tom continued. What I do isn't a joke. The people I work with aren't props. They're professionals and their lives are on the line when we film these scenes. The audience froze. Whoopi glanced nervously at the producers off stage, as if silently begging them to cut to a commercial. But they didn't dare. The moment was too explosive, too raw. This was live TV gold, and a complete disaster at the same time. Joy finally uncrossed her arms, sitting up straighter. Tom, nobody's saying. Tom, cut her off. Raising a hand. No. That's exactly what you're saying. Joy's jaw tightened. Tom went on, his voice rising slightly, filled with controlled anger. You don't know the hours. You don't know the training. You don't know the pressure these teams go through. And then you come on live TV and reduce it to a personality flaw, a joke. The crowd murmured again, louder. Sunny Hostin leaned back, clearly uncomfortable. Sarah N swallowed hard, glancing at Whoopi. Even Whoopi looked stunned, and she had seen everything. Tom leaned closer, his tone almost trembling with passion. I've hung off airplanes. I've climbed skyscrapers. I've done things because fans expect authenticity, not CGI, not shortcuts. Real work. He pointed toward the cameras, not angrily, but with conviction. That's why I do these stunts. Not because of ego. Because people trust me to give them something real. Joy inhaled sharply. But Tom wasn't finished. Not even close. He sat back, shaking his head with disbelief. And you sit here and call that a control issue? The audience gasped again, louder this time. Joy answered. But her voice wasn't as confident. Tom, I ask tough questions. That's my job. Tom laughed, but it wasn't a friendly Hollywood laugh. It was sharp, dry, almost irritated. Tough questions. Fine. But disrespect wrapped in humor is not journalism. Joy. Joy blinked rapidly, visibly shocked by his bluntness. A producer could be heard whispering loudly, off camera, cut to break. Cut to break now. But the director shook his head. The intensity was too captivating. Tom's voice grew stronger. More emotional. These people give everything to these movies. Their sweat, their fear, sometimes their safety. And you sit here and play it off like it's ridiculous. He paused, staring at Joy with a level of focus that made the entire room shiver. I won't let you do that. That line hit like a hammer. The audience erupted in whispers. Even the camera operator instinctively zoomed out, unsure of how close to be for a moment like this. Joy finally tried to regain control, clearing her throat. Tom, you're being dramatic. Tom snapped his head toward her. No. Joy, I'm being honest. That was it. The breaking point. The moment the entire interview tipped from uncomfortable to unforgettable. Producers panicked. Co-hosts froze. The audience stared in disbelief. Tom Cruise, Mr. Calm, Mr. Composed, Mr. Movie Star, had officially erupted live on air, and everyone knew. This moment was going to go viral. For the first time in the interview, Joy Behar regained her composure, or at least she tried to. Her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed into a thin line, and she leaned forward with the confidence she had carried through thousands of interviews. But this was different. This wasn't a celebrity politely answering questions or dodging comments. This was Tom Cruise, live, unfiltered, and furious. The audience could sense the shift immediately. What had begun as Tom expressing frustration over a question was now a full-blown standoff. The energy in the studio was electric, almost unbearable. You could feel it crackling through the lights, the cameras, the very air. Joy exhaled slowly and said, in a measured tone, Tom, I'm not here to disrespect you. I'm here to ask the questions the audience wants answered. That's my job. Tom leaned back, arms crossed, staring directly at her. His jaw was tight, his eyes blazing with passion. The calm intensity that had dominated his first response was now a simmering fire. I understand that, he said slowly, his voice low but sharp. But there's a line between asking questions and belittling the work of hundreds of people who dedicate their lives to these films. You crossed that line. The audience was on edge. You could hear a pin drop, every whisper of movement magnified in the tension-filled room. The co-hosts avoided eye contact, unsure whether to intervene or let the showdown continue. Even the producers in the control room leaned forward, gripping their headsets, praying the cameras were capturing every moment. Joy's signature smirk appeared. Just slightly, as she shot back. Well, Tom, maybe you're just a little too sensitive. The audience gasped. Even the viewers at home paused, caught in disbelief. Tom's reaction was instantaneous. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. His controlled intensity spoke louder than words could. He leaned forward, eyes fixed on Joy, and said, Sensitive. Sensitive is hanging off the side of a skyscraper, trusting a harness that could fail, performing stunts that would terrify most people. Sensitive is working day and night, pushing yourself beyond what's humanly possible, so millions of fans can feel something real. That's not sensitivity. That's commitment. The words hit like a thunderclap. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or stay frozen in shock. Co-hosts shifted in their seats, unsure how to respond. The tension was now tangible. It wrapped around the studio like an invisible storm. Joy, not one to back down, leaned forward again, her voice firm. Tom, I'm not questioning your commitment. I'm questioning the way you handle criticism. People are allowed to have opinions. Tom's eyes narrowed, a flicker of incredulity crossing his face. His voice sharpened, each word deliberate. Opinions are fine. Insults disguised as opinions, not fine. You think this is just a TV segment, a funny little exchange. This is people's lives, their sweat, their blood. And when you reduce it to a personality flaw, it's disrespectful. And I won't accept it. A hush fell over the studio. The audience sat forward in their seats, captivated by every syllable. The tension had escalated beyond a typical celebrity interview. This wasn't entertainment. This was a collision of two powerful personalities, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to look away from. Joy's expression hardened. Her trademark wit was still there, but even she had to acknowledge the force of Tom's words. She tried to regain control, raising a hand in a semi-apologetic gesture. Tom, I'm just doing my job. No need to, but Tom cut her off, leaning back slightly. His tone, a mixture of exhaustion and determination. I know what you're doing. I know your job. But this isn't just about me. It's about everyone who makes these films possible. And you, Joy, are standing here minimizing their effort, live, for millions to see. That's not just a question. That's a statement. For a brief moment, the room was silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause, capturing the intensity, the clash of wills, the raw emotion between the two. And in that silence, everyone watching knew one thing: this confrontation wasn't going to be forgotten anytime soon. Tom Cruise had made his point, loud and clear. And Joy Behar had fired back, refusing to yield. The stage was set for the final act, the moment that would define this live TV explosion forever. The tension in the studio had reached a boiling point. Every second felt stretched. Every breath felt heavy. The audience sat frozen. The co-hosts remained cautiously silent. And even the cameras seemed to hesitate, as if unsure whether they should keep rolling. Tom Cruise, standing his ground, leaned back slightly and scanned the room. His eyes, still fixed on Joy Behar, burned with a mix of frustration and incredulity. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't shouting, he didn't need to. His presence alone commanded attention. The raw intensity of a man pushed to the edge radiated from every inch of his posture. Joy, never one to shrink in the spotlight, squared her shoulders and met his gaze. But for the first time, a flicker of hesitation crossed her face. She had expected strong answers, maybe even a little resistance. But she hadn't expected the sheer force of Tom's words, the unshakable conviction he carried with every sentence. For a tense moment, neither spoke. The air seemed electric, charged with anticipation. The audience's whispers had died down into a tense silence. Even the production crew behind the cameras were holding their breath, waiting to see who would blink first. Finally, Tom spoke, his voice steady, calm, but weighted with finality. "I came here to talk about the movie. I didn't come here to be insulted. I respect this platform, but I will not allow anyone to misrepresent the work and sacrifice of hundreds of people who make these films possible." He paused, letting his words sink in. The audience felt the gravity of the statement. This wasn't just a celebrity defending himself. This was a man standing up for his team, for his craft, and for the millions of fans who trusted him to deliver excellence. Joy opened her mouth, as if to respond, but the words faltered. For once, her quick wit and sharp tongue were no match for the overwhelming force of Tom's presence. The studio had fallen silent again, an almost tangible tension hanging in the air. Then, in a move that shocked everyone, Tom stood up. Not angrily, not out of spite, but with the calm decisiveness of someone who had made a choice. "I think we're done here," he said, giving a polite nod to the camera and the audience. The studio collectively gasped. Co-hosts shuffled in their seats. Producers flailed behind the scenes, trying to keep things under control. Joy sat frozen, blinking rapidly, seemingly processing what had just happened. Tom Cruise, one of the most composed, disciplined, and controlled actors in Hollywood, had walked off a live interview, and no one knew if the broadcast would survive the moment. As he made his way behind the curtain, the audience erupted into murmurs and stunned applause. Social media notifications were already exploding, with viewers live tweeting and posting clips of the confrontation. Headlines would write themselves in minutes. Memes, reaction videos, and GIFs of Tom's intensity would dominate the internet by the end of the day. When the cameras returned from the brief commercial break, the energy in the studio had shifted. Joy Behar attempted to regain composure with a joke, but it fell flat. The magic, the spark, the chaos, it had already passed. The moment was gone, and the world outside the studio was watching, replaying every second over and over again. For Tom Cruise, this was not just about an interview. It was a statement, a bold, unflinching declaration of passion, commitment, and respect for his craft. He had stood his ground, refused to be minimized, and shown millions of viewers that even in the face of confrontation, he would not compromise his integrity or the dignity of those he works with. And for Joy Behar and The View, this would become an unforgettable moment in daytime television history. A live TV eruption that no one could have predicted, a clash of personalities, and a viral spectacle that would be discussed, analyzed, and replayed countless times by the time the show ended. The episode had already gone down in history. Tom Cruise had erupted. Joy Behar had fired back. The audience had been left speechless, and the world had witnessed one of the most shocking, unfiltered, and unforgettable moments in live television ever. This was more than an interview. It was a live explosion that would be remembered for years.